City Council. Honorable Jim Jolly, are you doing a pledge then?
We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Could you all rise, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council Vice President Jolly. We'd like to welcome you to the July 8th study session of the Livonia City Council. This meeting sets the agenda for the 1,877th regular meeting, which will be a voting meeting. That meeting will take place on Monday, July 22nd. We have Councilman Kritzman should be here shortly, and Councilwoman McIntyre should also be here shortly. We do have council new data on items 11 and 12. And council, do you have any announcements at this point? We want to wish our clerk a very happy birthday. She will have a nice birthday. What was it, 39 again?
39, 29, 45.
29, 25, okay.
Madam President?
Yes.
We probably should have said something at the last meeting, but I think we should offer a thanks to our spree committee for everything they did with Livonia Spree. It's been a little more than a week now, so maybe it's off of our minds. We somehow missed it last time, but thank you so much to the spree committee. That's always a really fun event, and for people that think it's just a carnival, it's so much more than that. There's special performances, and there's the family pizza nights, and there's the pancake breakfasts, and you know, of course, the fireworks, and it's just a great week for our city. So thanks to everybody that was involved with that. It was a great event as always.
Yeah, many of those folks that work the spree, it's all volunteers, take time out of their vacation and take their vacation to run the spree. Do many of you go in the audience to the spree? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you go and enjoy it, and your families, and they do an outstanding job, as Councilman Barr has said. We also want to give prayers out to Janelle this evening. Janelle was the one that was unfortunately hit by a car on West Chicago and Merriman, and her father is a very intricate part of our city as well. He is one of our police chaplains, and Janelle has sustained some very serious injuries, but is starting to come along more. And it was all over Facebook and the internet just this weekend. So they were asking for many, many more prayers for her. So if we could have a few moments of silence, council, and reflect on Janelle for a moment and just offer some prayers. Thank you, council and audience. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go into audience communication. Anyone that has anything that isn't on the yellow agenda, which is outside the auditorium, excuse me, please come up now. You have 3 minutes to address the council, and if not, we'll move into our regular agenda. Okay, I see no one coming up, council. And I hear no one coming. So I'm going to explain this is indeed a study session. There will be no votes taken this evening. The council members could, however, offer either one resolution or a combination of resolutions for each item. The resolutions offered may include an approving, a denying, or a referring resolution to a committee or a city department for their report and recommendation. A resolution of no further action may also be offered. There are some items that will simply be received and filed for the information of the City Council. Please note that all the items that appear before us this evening will move on to the regular meeting of Monday, July 22nd of this year, where they will be officially voted on. Also, if you want to participate in tonight's agenda as we call the number, if you come to the podium to my left or right, and we will recognize you, and please give us your name and address for the record, okay? So let us proceed. The first item on our agenda tonight is Janine Miller here. Janine, welcome. Is a block party to be held on Saturday, August the 10th from 2 to from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Woodring Street between Vermont and Oregon with no rain date, because you've called for no rain, then I suspect, right?
We have a block party whether it rains or not.
Oh, you're one of those block parties, okay.
Yes.
All right, well, welcome, Janine. What, you want to explain a little further on item 1?
This is our 31st annual,
Wow, okay.
and we are gathering of neighbors and to visit, barbecue, games. Kids like to play in the street, and as you can imagine, now we have grandchildren running in the street after having a block party that many years. So it's just a gathering of neighbors to visit.
Super, okay. Council direction, Councilman Barr.
I just
Yeah.
question, have you ever looked into, and maybe some council members know, where that ranks as far as the oldest block party in the city?
I don't think we're the oldest.
Okay,
Yeah.
you probably aren't, but it's gotta be up there, so I'd be happy to offer an approving on this for consent if there's no objection.
Great. Anyone else approving on, maybe Judy or Sarah can look that up for us and see if you're, and then you'll win a prize. Okay.
It's the oldest I've seen since
Yeah, I agree. It is pretty old. All right. Well, you have an approving on consent, which means you can relax at home and not worry too much. It means it's non-controversial unless there's somebody from the audience that wants to offer some other kinds of things about your block party. I don't see anyone rushing up here, so I think you're
Okay.
safe. Ms. Miller, and thank you very much for
Thank
all
you.
your efforts to bring that community together as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 then is also a block party. Livonia loves block parties. This is Maggie McGrain, is
Hi.
it? Hi, Maggie. You want to hold the block party on Saturday, August the 24th, from 1 to 10 on Rayburn Street between Levan and Williams with, again, no rain date, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, go right ahead. What do you want to do there?
So ditto Janine, gathering of neighbors,
31
friends,
years?
family. No, we're only going on like 5, so.
Okay.
But food and barbecue and kid games and chit chat, fun, laughter,
All
etc.
right, great. Councilman Vice President John.
Madam President, I'm happy to offer an approving for consent. Wish them luck.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
You have an approving on consent from Council Vice President Jolly. That means you can stay home and watch us on cable if you'd like.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
you so much. Have fun. Okay, item 3 is also a block party. Karen, Kara?
Karen Shatter.
Okay, Ms. Shatter. You want a block party that would be held on Saturday, September 7th from noon to 10 p.m. on Sussex Street between Fitzgerald and Sherwood with a rain date, see that, smart woman, Sunday, September the 8th. Go right ahead.
This is our 22nd. I thought we were pretty well up there, but 31 seems to outrank us.
Well, great. And
We're same kind of things, barbecue, bounce house, maybe a band, bonfire at night, just a lot of neighborhood get-together. And I'd like to say, we applied for the neighborhood grant, and we're received that. So we've got an
Great.
extra $500 to blow this party.
oh, wow.
So you're all invited if you'd like to come by.
We hope everybody knew about it.
We do now. Go right ahead, Council Vice
So I'm
President Jolly.
extremely happy that you got the grant money. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you don't blow it. I hope you use it in a productive way that adds value to our community. Otherwise, they're going to give me grief and take it away, so it won't be there next year. Anyways, it's a great resource. We're glad we're able to help and assist the neighborhood to have a good time.
We were able to redo the wall at the entrance to our subdivision with that last year.
Yeah.
So it's really a nice benefit.
I think I look at the new signs quite often when I'm cutting out to Newburgh.
Right.
So anyways, I'm happy to offer an approving for consent and wish you luck, and thank you for utilizing the funds.
Thank you very much.
Well, we wanted to make sure you were doing karaoke, because Councilman Meekin goes out and sings.
Well, we need to have him come by. September 7th.
I just tried to get you a new career, Councilman. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much for coming in and having some fun with us. Anybody from the audience wishing to speak to that item or any other items on that? No? Okay, you're all clear. All right, item 4 is a request for his designation as a nonprofit organization. This is Bob Meyer, head football coach of Clarenceville High School, as required by the state of Michigan to obtain charitable gaming license to allow a raffle fundraiser in the future. Good
Correct.
evening, sir.
Correct.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
We've already received incorporation status, an EIN number, and have just recently been approved for a 501c3 status by the IRS. So this is my last step for running a raffle, which the funds will all go to the Livonia Clarenceville Football Booster Club to be used for products that we need for conducting a top-level football program, which is what I'm trying to achieve right now.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go right
I'm
ahead.
happy to support Clarenceville and their efforts and to offer an approving resolution on consent. There's no objection.
Great. Yes, Council Vice President.
You know,
Jeff.
yeah, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, I was able to do the 5K that was held at the stadium there. And the facilities look great.
Incredible.
You guys really have a nice facility now. I used to play my high school games there as well. And it was not
For
that
which
nice.
high school?
Catholic Central.
Okay.
So-
We won't be friends anymore, but that's okay.
Madam President, I object to the
Yes.
consent agenda.
As you should, as you should.
Oh, we wish you luck. I mean, I was blown away with how great the facility is.
Well, and
You
so-
should be proud of it, and everybody should be proud of it.
My backstory is that this is my first year as the head coach. I had been previously the head coach at Walled Lake Central for the last 15 years and have been a teacher coach in Walled Lake for the last 30. So coming to Livonia Clarenceville was all brand new to me. When I walked in and saw the stadium, it is a better facility than most of the teams that I play, which would be a Division I and Division II schedule. They should be very proud. The community should be very proud. So now we just have to fill the stands and put a winning product on the field for the community.
And that's all your
That's it.
job. So, all right.
Super.
Good luck.
Thank
Super
you.
good. Well, thank you for all
Thank
the
you for
good
your
things
time.
you're doing. Yes, sir. Anybody else from the audience wishing to speak to this?
Or
Hearing
buy a
this-
raffle ticket.
Not yet.
Thank you.
All righty. All right. Council, anything else on that? No? Okay. Item 5 is a request to approval for Senior Alliance of 2020 to 2022 multi-year plan. Is Jason here? No. Is anybody here for Jason or the Alliance? This is kind of housekeeping, everyone, but it's up to you what you want to do with it. Go ahead, Councilwoman McIntyre, you're here.
I am here, and I'm on the board
Yes,
of the
yes.
Senior Alliance, also known as the area agency, I really do know.
Spit it out.
Area Agency on Aging 1C. And I would like us to defer this, just put it on the regular agenda and give
Okay.
Jason a chance to come, because even though it is housekeeping, the multi-year plan is really important, and it lays out
Absolutely.
all the services that the Alliance provides and all the things that are mandated and required by both state and federal dollars, and I think it's important for the council and the community to hear, so
Absolutely.
that would be my recommendation. We'll just put it
Absolutely.
on the regular
He's such a
agenda.
talented young man. He was my intern at the University of Michigan
I know
at
he
one
was.
time.
I know he
So just a good guy and a good organization, and they're lucky to have you on their board.
Thank you.
Councilwoman McIntyre. So we're gonna put it on the regular. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this item before we leave it? Okay, then, Madam Clerk, you have direction on that, right? Item 6 is award a bid from the Livonia Public Library. And here comes our director for auditorium renovations for the Bennett Civic Center Library. This is from budgeted funds. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Toni Laporte. I'm the director of the Bennett Civic Center Library. The finance department went out to Mitten for bids on the renovation of the Bennett Civic Center Library auditorium. Other than the sound system, projector, and screen, no updates have been made since the building was built 31 years ago. 2 companies submitted bids. I am here to request the acceptance of the bid from Library Design Associates.
Wow, interesting. How many years ago did you say that was?
1988.
Really? The library? Wow, wow. Okay.
You remember it like yesterday.
I do. I was on the council almost, I think.
So, Madam
Yeah.
President, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, oh, yeah, sure you can. Absolutely.
So, with Library Design Associates, will they be specifically approaching this as a library auditorium? Or do they have some expertise that will add value in that area? I just ask because it's in their name. And typically,
Right, they've done so many library renovations across Michigan, Ohio, hundreds of libraries. They have done auditoriums, they do everything, and they're very good. And their bid was lower than the other company that bid, and it was a better bid. They included things that the other company did not. And they also chose to stay within our time frame, which is very important because, as you know, the auditorium and the meeting rooms are so very busy, and so we have booked them up to a certain date, and we have some time out for the renovation, and they say they're going to do it between those dates. The other company wanted to start sooner, which of course they couldn't because we have people in that auditorium, so.
well, we appreciate you looking out for the residents and the people who use it first. I'm happy to offer an approving for the consent agenda. It's great to see that we're making progress on this, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Oh, yes.
And hopefully we can chip off piece by piece.
Absolutely.
We're trying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Tony, I gotta ask you a question. How did you get past Mr. Slater on this one? I've been trying to get this auditorium redone, and this has been here since the 70s, so you got the jump on me.
Well, we have the money in the budget, and
Okay.
I've been squirreling it away, and
Well, guess what we're putting in the budget for next year?
well, I have a great company that they don't have to do libraries; they do all kinds of.
Okay, thank you.
I think my wife and family contribute a lot of late fees to the library. It's biting off a piece of this. We can never
And we
seem to
thank
get
you.
those days.
Thank you.
Or find the books for that matter, to be honest with you.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience? Congratulations.
Thank you very
job,
much.
Director Laporte. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Item 7, council is a request for an authorization to purchase one 2019 Ford F-550 through the state of Michigan Macomb, County bid process. Go right ahead. I know your name is Wine, and I can't remember Rushlow.
Jacob
Rushlow. Yeah, that's it. Not Rothschild, sorry. Okay.
Not a problem, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Jacob Rushlow, Superintendent in the Department of Public Works. This agenda item before you is to purchase a new Ford F-550, which is really just the chassis of the part of this vehicle. The rest of it is an aerial lift that would be upfitted as a part of the vehicle package. This is a replacement of an existing piece of equipment that's about 23 years old and is well beyond its expected useful life. It's been extended through improvements over the years, but it definitely needs to be replaced. So the vehicle will be used primarily for tree limb trimming. It has a 45-foot working height. It'll be used for both trimming and disposal. It'll have a I'm drawing a blank on the word, chipper, chip debris body as well with it. So for both trimming and disposal during emergencies or routine maintenance that we do through the department for public safety with hanging limbs. The upfitting, in part, like I said, will have a hydraulic lift chip body, storage, toolboxes, and safety lighting that we use on all of our vehicles. So the funds for this vehicle were previously approved through the DPW capital outlay budget. Pricing was set through the state of Michigan and Macomb County contract for the vehicle, and upfitting was through the My Deal, as an extended purchasing program that's made available to us through the state of Michigan. So it's our recommendation through the Public Service Division of DPW that council proceed to authorize the purchase of this F-550 truck from Signature Ford and upfitting of the truck from Versa Lift Midwest in the amounts that were listed in the letter, both from budgeted funds.
Thank you so much. Council, your pleasure, your direction.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I'm
go
happy
right
to
ahead.
offer an approving resolution on consent.
Thank you. Councilwoman White has offered an approving on consent. Were there any others? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to the number 7? Hearing and seeing no one, we have an approving on consent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, you're up on the next one, I see. Number 8, this is a request to approve purchases with sole supplier, EJ USA Inc., for East Jordan Iron Works. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair. So
Sure.
this item is related to purchases for water main, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer manhole items that are iron castings for covers and frames for manholes. It also includes fire hydrants, water main valves, and the city logoed manhole covers. Those are manufactured here locally in Michigan, in East Jordan, up north. The company now is called EJ Inc. This pricing that we've checked that they've given us for this 1 year contract is consistent with those being paid by other neighboring communities for these same items. Their local distribution center here is in Oak Park and has been very responsive in meeting all of our needs as quickly as possible when we do need materials from them. So it's our recommendation through the department that council proceed to authorize purchases from EJ USA Inc. for storm water manhole, sanitary manhole, water main related items not to exceed $75,000 annually from funds already budgeted, and also to waive the formal bidding process in accordance with city ordinances, since no advantage to the city would result from competitive bidding in this situation.
Councilwoman McIntyre.
I would like to offer the approving resolution. This is something that we need, and as you indicated, it's a sole supplier, and one of these years, I still want to get up to East Jordan and take a tour of East Jordan Ironworks, since virtually every manhole cover in the city has that, or I mean in the state has that name on it, and probably outside the state too.
Yep.
So, and I'd be happy to put that on consent if there are no objections.
Yes, certainly. Any others? Anyone from the audience? It's quite an education we get every year on this, and thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 9 is also public service. It's a request for additional services with NTH Consultants for environmental engineering services. Take it away. Go right
Yes, thank you once again, Madam Chair. This item is related to our request for additional services to NTH Consultants, who's our current environmental engineering consultant. Over the past year, we've seen an increased focus from the state and at the federal level on emerging unregulated contaminants like PFAS, which I'm sure you've heard in the news. It's been a pretty hot topic. The Great Lakes Water Authority has recently required us through our landfill permit, which has a leachate discharge to the sanitary sewer system, which ultimately ends up at the Great Lakes wastewater treatment plant, that we start to do things to try and reduce or eliminate through a best management practices plan the amount of PFAS that they're finding in samples of our discharge to the wastewater stream. So with that, NTH being our environmental engineering firm, we've talked to them and asked them to put together a scope of what it would really look like to do and implement this BMP plan, and what type of additional sampling would need to be done, lab analysis, reporting, and the likes for the Great Lakes Water Authority and what they need to see from us. On top of that, with these types of emerging issues from the state and federal level, the department believes that it would be prudent on our behalf also to extend their scope for NTH to also include additional services to provide for flexibility and timely response to these impending regulatory changes that we're seeing these days for emerging contaminants such as PFAS. So it's our recommendation through the department that council proceed to approve a contract amendment with NTH Consultants to provide these as-needed environmental engineering services, and authorize the clerk and the mayor to execute that contract amendment, and then also authorize an additional expenditure to their existing contract in the amount of $20,000 annually through the remaining life of their contract with the city.
Okay, thank you. Council Vice President.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. First, you mentioned PFAS. And obviously, you know, there's some people locally who are sensitive about water issues, rightfully so. And statewide, that's also a sensitive topic. Could you provide council with the reports that detail what exactly is coming out of the site? And I understand it's not a current site that's operating. It's been closed for many, many years, but it's something that we're managing a past situation. Can you provide those reports to us?
We can, absolutely, yes.
It's probably appropriate with the sensitivity around this concern that we, as the representatives of the people, have an idea of what exactly is happening there from that perspective.
Sure.
Secondly, with the amount of the contract, an additional 5 years with up to, well, $20,000 annually. It says here as needed.
Correct.
The scope of as needed confuses me to an extent. Do you have a detailed outline of what that as needed might be? Is there a cap? Is there a limit? Might they recommend something that you will be coming back for more? I'm just trying to get a grasp of what we're talking about.
Right, so right now, we do have from them specifically on the PFAS topic and what would be needed to achieve our best management practices plan through our permit with Great Lakes Water Authority. We have that scope from them and what that's going to look like on costs. Beyond that, in the next 5 years, we're not sure of what may be coming down the pike on additional things that we may need to do or additional sampling. Part of our plan is to continue to do sampling for another 2 years, see where we're at, and then really see what else do we need to do beyond that to try and reduce or eliminate. Maybe we've achieved our goal by then. So that's why we put it as a not to exceed the $20,000, because we may not need to actually use that much every year on these additional services. But we may need to get there at some point.
So are we approving the payment of $20,000 annually or up to $20,000 annually?
It'd be up to, not to exceed 20,000.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just in terms of, just to make sure we have, when do you anticipate that you'd be able to share those reports with us?
For the reporting that we've done so far, I can provide you, we have to do quarterly reporting on sampling. Right now, we're not required because this is what's coined as an emerging contaminant. It's unregulated, so it's something we don't have to sample for right now. But what Great Lakes has done is went out and taken basically a single grab sample of the leachate stream and said, we have, hey, we found PFAS in your stuff, so we want you to start to monitor it and then do some things to improve it. So that part of it we haven't actually started to do yet. As I'm getting there.
Can you send us the results that you have?
So I can send you what we have so far and some of even if you want to see the last year's quarterly reports, I can provide all that.
If you can do that, and specifically the PFAS,
Yes.
that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone from the audience? Hearing and seeing no one, I believe you have an approving.
We don't. I'll offer the approving resolution, and I'll do that for consent. The questions I had were answered satisfactorily, but I would like to see those reports.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay. Vice President Jolly has offered the approving. Yes, go right ahead.
Just one question related to this. Should we amend the document that says authorize an additional expenditure in the amount of up to $20,000 annually? The letter that's submitted says 20,000, and I don't know if it's important that we change the letter that we received from Mr. Roroff and Mr. Rushlow.
It's not these as needed services. Not to exceed then, right?
Right. I mean, if we could just make that, I know it's a small thing, but maybe if we could make that amendment
Yeah, okay.
to the letter. Pardon me? Will you adopt that? Will you include that? Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jacob.
He accepts that, so we're
Okay,
good.
thank you, Mr. Jolly.
Okay on that, Ms. Rushlow?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody want to talk any more about the water on that one? No? Okay, thank you very much. Item 10 is a request to accept storm sewer facilities maintenance agreement. This is brought to us from our engineering department. This is for Vibe Credit Union in conjunction with the construction of a storm sewer drainage system that provides adequate drainage for property developed at 16825 Middle Belt Road in the northeast quarter of Section 14. Mr. Zelinczyk.
Thank you, Madam President and City Council members. Again, this is just a housekeeping issue. They're getting, I think, ready to open here very shortly. If you saw on the west side of Middle Belt, just south of 6 Mile, a lot of activity recently to provide a new facility, Vibe Credit Union. So in order for them to get their full CFO, one of the requirements is the stormwater agreement needs to be executed. So we're trying to be proactive and appreciate your cooperation and approval of this. And any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Council, your pleasure, your direction.
Madam President?
Yes, go right ahead.
This is largely a housekeeping matter. I'll offer an approving for the consent agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Jolly has offered approving on consent. Is there anyone from the audience wishing to speak to item 10? Hearing and seeing no one then, Madam Clerk, we'll move on to item 11, which is a waiver petition brought to us from the Planning Commission. Go right ahead, Mr. Toromino.
Thank you. This is a request that would demolish and replace the St. Jude Nursing Home at the corner of Ann Arbor Trail and Stark Roads, and construct a new nursing and physical rehabilitation facility. This is a zoning map that shows where the property is located with respect to surrounding properties and zoning. On three sides there are residential homes. On the north side of the property is the Rouge Parkway, part of Hines Park. The property is zoned OS Office Services. That zoning has been in place since around 1959. The original facility, St. Jude, well, actually Riverbank Convalescent Home, was built sometime in the early 1960s. Section 9.03G of the ordinance treats convalescent nursing homes and homes for the elderly as a waiver use in the OS zoning district. Homes are required to be on parcels that comprise at least 1 acre plus 500 square feet of land per bed. This is a 1.59 acre site, and as such, it could support a total of 51 beds. St. Jude currently operates with a total of 64 beds, and it's their intent to keep the 64 beds. These beds would effectively be escrowed while the new facility is under construction, and then upon completion, the beds would transfer to the new facility, which would be operated by new ownership and under a new name, Mission Point Livonia.
Mr. Toromino?
Yes.
If I may stop you for 1 minute. This particular one, and Madam Treasurer, if I'm right, they still owe some dollars, is that correct, on this facility? If we could ask, there's a couple members that have brought up that we may want to take a look at this and the amount of money they owe the city before we go into doing any. I thought it was in committee as well.
Or is it a different petition?
It is in committee. That was under a different property, though.
That's a different property.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Termy. Can we go to the treasurer for
Yes,
just 1
absolutely.
minute to clear up any clarity that is needed on this issue? Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for being here tonight again.
So previously, there were taxes due to the city of Livonia for personal property taxes and to Wayne County for real property taxes. The personal property taxes have been paid in full. There are still taxes due to Wayne County. They have been making payments to Wayne County. I believe I sent the receipts that showed that they had made recent payments, but there is still a large amount owing. I am not sure what, there were supposed to be plans made through the bankruptcy of when the taxes to Wayne County were going to be paid off. That I'm not sure of what the current plans are with that. But there are still, when I last checked, which was on July 3rd, I believe is what I sent to you, there were still taxes owing to Wayne County for the real property taxes.
Correct, okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'm going to offer another resolution to send this to committee. I'm not comfortable moving forward with a petition where there's money being owed to the city as well as the county with a pending bankruptcy hearing, which is supposed to be in mid-July. So I'm not comfortable at all moving forward with this without going to committee before anything else is resolved with the bankruptcy hearing.
Counsel, your pleasure, your feelings.
Are you,
Yeah, go right ahead.
are you making that motion?
I'll offer the motion for committee of the whole.
I'll second that.
Moved and second by Councilman Jolly. We have that on the floor at the moment, and are we can vote on this, right?
No, it's a
No, it's
study,
a
so
study
there's no
meeting.
vote.
We can't vote, but we can redirect.
Right.
And so therefore, the redirection was, and there is support on that, which doesn't need support, I get it, but just for the record. So council, we are going to not hear this evening unless there's strong objection by any other council members, so that we can get clarity from the bankruptcy court as this proceeds with the process. Is that on consent? Yeah, it's on consent. Sorry, Mr. Termina, to lead you down, but for that whole thing, but there is some concern on that. All right. Item 12 then, if there's anyone from the audience wishing to address us? None? Okay. Item 12 then is a site plan petition from our Planning Commission, petition 2019010801, submitted by 18th Street Development LLC to construct a professional medical office building located on the north side of 7 Mile between I-275 and 96 Expressways and Hagerty Road in the southwest quarter of Section 6. Mr. Toromino.
Thank you. This is a revision to a previously approved site plan that was to build a professional medical office building, which, as everyone knows at this point, is for Beaumont Health. It was on February 25th of this year that the City Council granted site plan approval for what was a 4.5-story building located at the north end of the property. And under that original plan, the existing office and industrial building was going to remain as part of the overall redevelopment of the site, and that would be used primarily as a warehouse. The reason this item is back before the Planning Commission is twofold. One is because the petitioner, 18th Street Development, as well as the main tenant, Beaumont Health, have made substantial changes to the plan, and they are also bringing back to you the callback item, which was the design of the building. So we'll be reviewing both of those items this evening. So the new plan shows a slightly smaller 4-story building that will be built near the center of the site and would replace the existing office and industrial building, which would be completely demolished. The north end of the property, where the building was originally proposed, will be left vacant, and that would be retained by the owners for future possible development. The gross floor area of the new building is 134,400 square feet, so it's slightly smaller than the original building, which was 160,000 square feet. The building, again, is positioned near the center of the property. It's in an area which is currently the main parking lot, which lies just east of the existing A123 office building. At the closest point, the building is about 104 feet from the I-275 off-ramp. Customer and employee parking will be mostly on the west and the south sides of the building, where the non-emergency entrances are located, and then the emergency drop-off is located on the east side, with additional parking located on the north side of the building, as well as some of the building's other support services, which are on the east and north sides. And this would include the receiving area, the ground-mounted mechanical, as well as a mobile MRI unit, as well as the trash containment area. All of these elements would be screened using a combination of both masonry walls as well as landscaping. As with the previous design, the new loop road would run parallel to the expressway on the east side of the site, as well as on the south and the north sides, where it would connect and provide access to both 7 Mile and Hagerty roads. The alignment of the road is very similar to the previous design. However, the latest plan shows the road avoiding the historic Orson Everett property altogether. The new alignment moves the road further to the north and completely onto the Pentagon Center Entertainment Campus property. This has the benefit of not only eliminating any impact to the historic property, but it also increases the separation from the signalized intersection and hence improves the turning movements as well as the stacking distance for vehicles that are waiting at the light. The plan also results in a net zero displacement of parking on the Pentagon Center. So you're looking at a plan that differs in a number of respects from the one you looked at a few months ago. Not only is the building smaller and repositioned on the site, the existing building being demolished in its entirety, but also how this site accesses 7 Mile Road is slightly different. Originally, they were showing that road going through the north end of that historic property, which they had an option or have an option to acquire. That road has now been moved further to the north. It avoids any impact to the historic property. All signage would be located off-site, and there would be, again, no impact to that site. That was something that they've been working on for several weeks with the owners, with the Association of the Pentagon Center Entertainment Campus. Parking, there are 281 parking spaces that are required for the clinical office, which is the medical component, another 346 spaces for the physician office or the general office, an additional 12 spaces needed for building support and amenity. Overall, the parking required by code is about 639 spaces. This site plan shows 568 spaces, so there is a deficiency of 71 spaces. This is similar to the plan that was presented to you earlier. The petitioner is very confident that the parking that is needed by industry standard is roughly 560 spaces, so they feel confident that the amount of parking being provided on the site is ample for what is required. Altogether, new landscaping plan as it affects the parking areas. Additional landscaping details are provided for some of the off-site improvements, the loop road, as well as the changes that would occur on the Pentagon Center Entertainment Campus. With respect to the building elevation plans, the architect is here, and I'll let Kendall describe these in greater detail, but the building is predominantly a brick and metal panel design. Again, it's 4 stories, so it's slightly lower than the design that you looked at a couple of months ago. We don't have details on signage at this point. That is something that would have to come back for further review. Planning Commission is recommending approval of the plans as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions for Mr. Toromina? Yes, go right ahead. Okay. This has no overnight patients. This is mostly in and out, right?
I'm going to let the petitioner answer that question.
Okay,
yes.
certainly. Okay, are the petitioners here? I guess we're holding off, so we'll call up the petitioners. Good evening, and your name and address, sir, for the record.
Hello, Tom Kelly, 1560 Market Street, Denver, Colorado. Pleasure, council members, to be in front of you once again. No, this will be an outpatient facility, so while there is an emergency department, it's 23-hour stay. So just to give you a little context from where we were to where we are now and the why, as Mr. Taramita mentioned, Beaumont Health is our partner on this deal. And they are a true partner in this deal. They own the land. We're going to do a long-term ground lease, 18th Street development. We will develop. We will own the facility. But Beaumont will be the anchor tenant. There will be about 50% of the tenancy will be independent physicians. The reason why we ended up switching from originally keeping the A123 building to where we are now was Beaumont had certain needs from a warehouse standpoint that they were able to solve on outside of this property. This solution offers a much better patient experience without having that building there and centrally locating our facility right in the middle of the property. So we're very pleased to be able to come forward with that. The building has shrunk in size. We've been able to advance our planning with Beaumont's departments and really right-size the building. So we're confident that this is what the building size is going to be, both from Beaumont's perspective as well as what the market will be able to bear with the independent physicians. We have some plans. Be happy to have our design team answer any questions you may have there. In regards to the new circulation, we have been working very hard with the Pentagon Association, as you know, AMC Theaters, Hyatt, restaurants. These are corporations. It's a lot of cats to herd. We've worked with the Historic Preservation Commission, and some of them are present here. We're very pleased that we're able to come to terms and a mutual understanding with the Pentagon Association so that we do not have to affect the historic building or the land whatsoever. We still have to come to some business terms with the Pentagon Association, but we were putting these plans in front of you because we have a plan that they've agreed upon in principle, and this is the intent of the property and moving forward. But meanwhile, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Were those wetlands we saw in that other, there's wetlands back there,
There are
isn't there?
wetlands, yes.
Okay,
And
that's
so
what
we
I
will
wondered.
be having some minor impacts to the wetlands.
Yeah, but it looks like you incorporated that very nicely around the newer building you're.
Trying our best to minimize any wetland impacts. We've been working with a wetland impact consultant through all the various stages of our planning efforts, and this is the most minimal impact that we've been able to come up with, both from historical preservation as well as from a wetland perspective.
Very nice. Yes, go ahead, Councilman Beck.
So forgive me on this, I've been sorting through the drawings here.
Yes.
So there is or there is not an entrance directly off of 7 Mile Road?
It will be coming off of now Chippewa Street, so there, where the existing signalized intersection
Which
is.
is the road that goes by the Hyatt Place and that's
correct.
the one way in.
That's it.
Okay, good. That's
Yep.
what I wanted. And okay, cool. Thanks
So
for
the
confirming that.
existing A123 road access that comes to 7 Mile will go away.
Okay, got it. Thanks for clarifying that, because that's what I was seeing on the drawings, but I thought I heard something earlier that indicated otherwise, so thank you for clarifying. My other question is with the parking. Mr. Termina said that something about the industry standard for something like this being 560 spaces.
Yes.
We've talked about this here before, just our parking requirements that often can be excessive. And I'm envisioning the Providence Center at 7 Mile Newburgh, which I think is one of the poster children for a parking lot that's way too big. 538 spaces, quite frankly, still sounds like a lot. And I look at these plans, and it looks like one big sea of parking lot with a beautiful building. But is that how many parking spaces you think you need? And my question is, if not, are the parking requirements limiting what you can do with the development of the building?
Great questions. No, we develop around the country, and we partner with some of the largest healthcare organizations, and parking is very important to get it right. It's important to have it well circulated around the building, not just from a parking count perspective. And so what this plan incorporates is what we think is the right balance of where the parking is located. We have two entrances within the building, one on the north, one on the south end, but also for an overall parking count perspective, yes, there's going to be just under 300 employees within the building.
Okay.
It's going to be a healthcare facility, as you know. Even from an outpatient perspective, you're going to have family members that are going to be accompanying. So somewhere in the 4.5 per thousand to 5 per thousand of rentable square feet is really where we need to be. It's not just from a long-term quality standpoint for the patients and the employees within the building, but also, quite honestly, from a financing perspective, to be able to be consistent with industry standards. The last thing we want to do is overpark. It's just money that's thrown away and more that we have to maintain. So this is right in the sweet spot of where we think is going to be for the short and long term of the building.
Okay, thanks for saying that. I mean, I'm telegraphing my opinion on this. The parking shortage, if you guys are comfortable with it is, the parking shortage relative to ordinance is not an issue for me.
Okay.
Now the lot that you're keeping available to the north for possible future development, is that something that the parking that you're getting here, do you anticipate parking being an issue with putting a building there in the future? Or, I mean, will that crimp?
No, we think that there's ample land for it to be a self-sustaining development, whether it's a healthcare facility or any other facility. We have no plans for what that future may be. Beaumont's going to own the land, and quite honestly, they don't have any plans for what that future development may be right now. See how this project goes. They may end up looking at this as a land hold. I don't know, to be honest with you, but there are no plans for what that future may be, but there is ample land for that to be its own parking and its own development.
Okay, and I'll let some of my other colleagues ask anything they have. I don't anticipate having any more questions. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for the work you've done on this since it was here before and taken into consideration so many of the concerns that were expressed at that time. I can see the fruits of that, and it's very much appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you.
Vice President Jolly.
Yeah, thank you. I think you've made a lot of improvements here that are, great value-added items.
Great.
When you mentioned an emergency department, I'm a little confused about what that would be in practice.
Sure.
For a couple different reasons, but primarily, when you say an emergency department at a building that is branded with one of the most prominent hospital names in the area, I guess my concern is, will there at some point be anything misleading about saying that? Is this gonna be a full-service emergency department, or is it actually gonna be like a, you know, urgent care kind of facility?
Right.
So can you provide some insight into what that might be? Because I would hate for somebody who needs a full emergency room to go to a facility marked as a branded hospital and not be able to get the service that they need because they might only get that shot once.
Sure. Well, in terms of the overall flow from an ambulance 911 perspective, they'll all understand the trauma levels of what each emergency department within the county and within the city is able to provide. So this will be a lower level trauma facility. So, you know, something that may be more like a broken bone. If there is somebody who's having a heart attack and they call 911, they're going to be routed to Farmington Hills or to a higher level trauma facility.
I understand that.
Yes.
The professionals would know that. Someone who is taking somebody else in a medical emergency may waste valuable time going to a facility that can't help them.
Right.
And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know of any other facility that's branded as an emergency department that's not a full-service emergency department, at least locally. And I mean, if I'm not correct there, please correct me.
Right.
But that concerns me.
Okay. Well, I have a representative from Beaumont that, Amanda, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot. I'd like to introduce Amanda Mulak. She's Senior Project Manager for Beaumont Health. She's been our partner on this, living and breathing this project, and she could probably speak to that better than I could, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
Hi. Good evening, appreciate it. For the record, my name's Amanda Mulak. My address is at 29394 Cotton Road, Chesterfield. Thank you for having me. There are a few local freestanding EDs. We do have one in Canton within our system itself. So that's our first freestanding EC that we have within our system. But there is also one that we know of within the St. John system in Macomb, and I believe Henry Ford also has one as well. So it's becoming more of a way for us to get the full services that we can offer for people in the communities that we've done market research on. So I think, Mr. Jolly, you asked earlier, what will the EC department have? And it will be a full spectrum of EC services. So it has an imaging and lab attached to it where we can do both outpatient care, but if someone comes in for emergency services, we can either stabilize them and get them transported should someone not understand that we're not a level 1 trauma, or we will treat the lower acuity patients at our facility.
And I understand that, and I thank you for the information.
Sure.
I guess maybe everybody who's visited an urgent care, I mean, there are good urgent cares and there are ones that are less good, right? Like how would you anticipate staffing at a facility like this, an emergency department? So if somebody walks in with a stroke, is there gonna be one doctor on call at a time, or what are you talking about in terms of staffing?
Yeah, we'll have full-time physicians and nursing on staff at all times. It's gonna be open 24/7.
Just a handful or a full team?
Well, the emergency rooms themselves were sized based on what we felt the area need is. So the emergency department itself is going to have, in Livonia, eight exam rooms with 2 resuscitation and 2 triage. So it's a full complement of services that we can staff, and we'll be staffing accordingly based on our market research for the area.
Okay. I mean, overall, I love the project. I love that you're coming here. I love the site plan. I love everything except for this. Something just doesn't sit right with this as far as I look at it. So thank you.
Okay. Councilman Meekin and then Councilwoman McIntyre.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm extremely excited about the project. I think this is a huge improvement to retrofitting an older industrial facility as well as office space. So this is a much greater improvement. And I appreciate all the work that you went through in making the ring road work. That was very important to us as a community because of the traffic flow on 7 Mile and Haggerty that I'm sure you're well aware of. The medical field is changing dramatically, as my colleagues have addressed earlier, but we're going to have another emergency facility on the other side of the street. So it's not much different from what Trinity is offering south of 7 Mile. So I don't foresee this as a huge problem. I mean, most of in Livonia, you're being transported by Livonia Fire Department. They're going to know not to go to your facility unless it's an absolute emergency, that they have to go there. If St. Mary's is out of bed or the next trauma one is out of service or whatever. So I'm extremely excited about this, and since I offered the approving resolution on the last petition that you presented to us, I'll be happy to offer an approving resolution for this item as well. And I imagine we're going on the regular agenda for this one, so we'll see you in a couple weeks then.
Thank you. We have an approving on regular. Councilwoman McIntyre?
Doesn't the state require licensing of emergency departments and certain standards to be met? And the other question is, I'm not sure if there's still a certificate of need required. You know, at one time, in order to build new beds, you had to obtain a certificate of need, and then I know that process changed and there were exemptions. I don't know what the certificate of need requirements are for emergency facilities, but am I correct or incorrect that the state requires licensing for emergency?
My understanding is that they don't require the certificate for the emergency itself, but any of the imaging equipment that we have there. So a CT scanner and our mobile MRI and PET machines that are going to be at the facility. So we're working on getting those CON letter of intents to the state. We have a plan to get that. Now the code will require for the type of ambulatory health code, this will be reviewed by the state of Michigan as far as HFES review in coordination with the city of Livonia review as well.
So does the state have to designate or approve a facility in order for it to be called an emergency department? I guess that's my question. You know, in order to be designated an emergency room or emergency medical services, is that a designation that the state has to approve?
That is not my understanding.
Okay, so it is incumbent then on the facility to make sure people understand. Now, you know, I mean, that's an issue, but to Mr. Meekin's point, most of we hope, right, the very acute cases are taken by Livonia ambulance, not, you know, people shouldn't be driving, right, their loved ones who are in acute distress to an emergency room facility. Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, there's private ambulances as well, you know, that do come into play besides our fire department. My concern is I'd like, and I'm not sure who to direct this to, but I do think we need to check it out through the state and see what the requirements are. I respect the fact of your position and what you do, but so much changes in Lansing from time to time, and I served up there, trust me, a law can be here today and gone tomorrow or altered in some respect. So I'd like us just to check out this emergency thing so that we know that we're on even footing. We know that Beaumont, as well as St. Joe, that we've now entered in with that, not that you would treat our residents any different, we wouldn't expect that, obviously, but you have a lot of medical facilities around there because the University of Michigan facility is over that way, and they do imaging as well, and they do, you know, different services. So you've got a lot of little niches within that 7 Mile corridor in Haggerty. So I think it would behoove us to do that in whatever direction, Madam Clerk, you can send that to. Maybe the administration could give a call to our state rep and senator or the Health Policy Committee, whoever chairs that. We would be able to find that out a little bit more clear. And I respect your knowledge, don't get me wrong, but I'd also like to see if there's any nuances within that scope, if you will. I'm concerned as the traffic flows when you're bringing in emergency vehicles. I've ridden in enough of them with my brother, so it's not a pleasant experience always. So you want to get, as I think Councilman Jolly said, the best care that you can for a situation when someone has such an emergency, and not, you know, be very clear about perhaps the name needs to be restructured. I don't know, you know, let's see what we can find out. And I appreciate what you do there. Thank you. Councilman John.
Yeah, I don't intend to be too hard on this matter. I'm curious, you know, is it really going to be closer to an urgent care or a high-level urgent care, or will it be an emergency department, right? And I mean, I completely respect, I mean, listen, Beaumont's the hospital my family uses, and we've gotten great service, and I trust that you're going to provide top-notch care. Absolutely. It's just people driving down the road who see the Beaumont name in red letters that say emergency, they may be expecting something else. They're not going to know the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, if I could just offer too, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with our expansion at Farmington Hills that opened recently over a few months ago. We did do a community outreach and had about a 3-day open house for the community to come in and tour the facility and get acquainted with our new emergency department there and try to do that communication. So we would be happy to do a similar type of outreach to educate the community about what type of emergency services we would have in this new location, and you know, do something to support that concern that you have.
I think that would be great. But you're also, it's like apples and oranges.
Sure.
That's a hospital that's been there since 1955. Right?
Sure.
So I mean, it's two different things. But thank you.
Yeah, and my concern, if I may just follow that up, is you're driving down the expressway. You're a traveler from out of state. You're a traveler from in-state. You see Beaumont, you see the possibly, you know, that there's a hospital or a facility for healthcare, and then you see emergency when you turn off your service drive or whatever the case may be. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but I think the concept, again, of emergency is one that says to me, I can go in there for my need. I'm not breathing, I just got an allergic reaction to something. I mean, any number of things that I know you all see as health providers. So, you know, I want to thank you again, but I want to check a little deeper into this myself as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, and if there's any information we can provide to you, we'd be happy to do that as a follow-up.
Yeah, if you'd leave your number with the council
Sure.
office, that would be real helpful.
Great.
Thank you again. Anyone else before we leave this? No? Okay, we have an approving by Councilman Meekin on the regular, and we do have some questions. And is there anyone else you wanted to present, petitioners, before we go to the audience?
No.
And thank you for the historical, too, addressing that. That was a real concern.
Great.
A lot of us had, so
Great.
Thank you so much.
No, our pleasure. Thank
for
you
those
for
efforts, sir.
your consideration.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I think we're good, right? Okay, thank you. Audience, anyone? No? Okay, we're going to go on to item 13, which is our last item of the evening. This is a site plan petition, Planning Commission petition 2019050808, submitted by Quick Pass Car Wash to construct a new attendant building, modify Victorian parking and access, and install new self-service vacuum stations with overhead canopy located on the south side of 5 Mile Road between Yale Avenue and Levan Road. Mr. Toromino.
Thank you. This petition involves a number of site changes and upgrades to what has been a car wash for a number of years. Century Car Wash is what it previously operated under, and now it's called Quick Pass Car Wash. This building is about 10,800 square feet in size. The building originally was constructed in the early 1970s as an automotive diagnostic building, and then it was expanded later to include the car wash. The new operator, Quick Pass, is in the process of undertaking a number of improvements and upgrades to the property, including installing new car wash equipment, changing the parking as well as the circulation pattern for the site, adding a new pay station, as well as installing new self-automated vacuums. This is a zoning map. It shows you what is actually 3 zoning classifications that encompass the property. The northerly part where the building and parking and all the other activities occur is zone C2. The middle portion, which does include additional parking, is zoned P for parking, and then the southerly portion, which is mostly undeveloped, is zoned OS, office services. Note the proximity of the residential properties from the southeast corner of the property. That has been an ongoing issue and something that will get discussed here. One of the significant changes is how the circulation pattern works and how the pay station works. Originally, cars would enter the queue for the wash and stack in a drive aisle that was located along the east side of the property. Under the new plan, this drive aisle will be converted to 90-degree parking, and the drive aisle will be shifted slightly to the west. Those cars, looking at the plan, will then enter a pay station at the south end of the property. This would be an automated pay station. Customers will be able to select from a number of items from a menu board, be able to pay. There would be an attendant building somebody stationed there at all times to assist with persons ordering their car wash. There would be automated gates that would then allow the vehicles to turn right, as they have done for a number of years, then circle back around to the north along the west side of the property, where they would enter the car wash. So not real significant changes with respect to the circulation pattern, other than moving that aisle a little bit further to the north and providing parking along the east side of the property. Again, the point of sales area where those two stations are located, that would be covered by an awning, and there's a small attendant building, which you have plans for. Another change to the site involves the addition of 10 self-serve vacuum stations, which are located along the west side of the property. These two are covered by a fabric canopy or awning. They are illuminated, I think, with LED lighting, and these stations would each allow vehicles would be able to pull into 12-foot by 20-foot spaces where they would be the payment would be at each one of those stations, allow for the cleaning of the vehicles, and then exit along the east side of the building, as is the case today. Another change was with respect to landscaping. One of the issues was the buffering between the proposed use and the residential properties to the south and to the east. For this reason, the plans before you show a portion of the southeast corner of the parking lot being removed. They would saw cut that triangular area which you see here, and additional landscaping as well as berming would be provided there to provide additional shielding to the residents that are located adjacent to this side of the property. A dumpster would also be moved a little bit further to the west and would be fully enclosed. Planning Commission reviewed this plan in detail. They placed restrictions relative to the hours of operation, as well as requiring that all the lights be turned off at least 1 hour after the business closes, shielding on all of the lights. And with that, Madam President, I'll be happy to answer any questions that the council has.
Thank you so much. Council, any questions for Mr. Taormina? Councilman Barr.
Madam President?
Yes, please.
Looking at our packet here, it looks like we have pictures of this yeah. It's already done.
It is proceeded. It's probably, I'm going to guess, about 80 to 90% complete at this point.
So how do we have a site plan petition come before us for a project that's 90% complete?
Well, it was a situation where permits were applied for and pulled for certain work that I think the scope of work being undertaken was misunderstood by the review authorities. So when the city learned of the extent of the modifications, it was felt that this reached the scope of something that would have to come for a site plan review. This is the pay station, by the way. So these are the areas where vehicles would enter. You don't see the gates at this time. I'm not sure that those have been installed. And then these would be the self-serve vacuums along the west side of the property.
Thank you. Any more questions before we go to the petitioner? Is the petitioner here this evening? Mr. Burke, right?
Ma'am.
Oh, perfect.
Could I?
Sure, go right ahead.
Going back, Mark, to the vacuums, those are already in.
Those are in, that is correct.
So if just the vacuums had been installed, right now there are two really, well, previously there were two really old, very crummy vacuums there. But what do our ordinances require in terms of approval for additional vacuum stations?
The ordinance is silent with respect to that.
That's what I thought.
So it's really a discretionary, it's up to the administration in deciding whether it reaches a threshold, I guess, if you will, of requiring a formal site plan review. And it was felt that the changes were significant enough that would require planning commission and council review for these.
Well,
items.
I'm glad the decision was made, and I can understand why when it started and the understanding, right, it didn't look like perhaps all the formal review was needed, but I'm glad we're here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Certainly. If there's no one else for Mr. Taormino, we'll turn to our petitioner, Mr. Burke.
Hi, Jamie Burke, Quick Pass Car Wash, 49409 Plymouth Way, Plymouth, Michigan. And I'm here to answer any questions you have or.
Okay, maybe you want to start out.
Yeah, I can start off with the.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
The obvious, right.
So what we're doing here is we have one in Canton. We're building another one in Plymouth. We're coming to Livonia. I'm going for approval for a fourth one in Canton, South Canton. And what it is it's a new style car wash. So it's big out of state where you have the free vacuums you pull up. Those vacuums are free. There's a hose for each side of your car, so you're not dragging an old hose through your car. It's really convenient. You can take your time. If you don't want to buy a car wash, you still use the vacuums. They're free. We also offer unlimited memberships, so that's what we need the pay stations for with the gates. So when you pull up, if you have a tag on your window, the gate recognizes you, opens up, lets you in, sends a signal to the tunnel, and the kid inside the tunnel knows what car's next, takes a picture of your car, shows you're an unlimited member, hits send, and you go through. So we did, when we were purchasing this, we went forth, and again, there was a little miscommunication. I guess the scope of work was a little bit more than was expected. But this is kind of common now, is the free vacuums, the pay station, so I don't have to worry about anybody stealing. 90% of the transactions these days are credit cards already, so the machine does all the work. We don't have to have 4 kids scrubbing your car anymore, freezing to death. We got one kid inside, he's nice and warm. The inside of the tunnel is completely remodeled. All new walls, new electrical, new everything, all new equipment. It's state of the art. And if you're a member here and you want to go to the one in Plymouth, you can go to that one. You want to go to the one in Canton, and it's like a club, just like a gym membership. And as far as lighting and hours of operation, we have one in Canton. We're already doing this. We have neighbors that are 90 feet. We're right on the threshold. We had to be 90 feet from their backyard, and we meet all the requirements in Canton as far as lighting and things like that. The LEDs that are in the canopies, they're 20 watts. They're just for like a small amount of light for you to see what's going on. But we close at 8 o'clock in the summer, so it's still light out, and we close at 7 in the winter. And then on Sundays we close at 6.
What time do you open?
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah, on the work traffic going to work.
Sure. Anything else you want to add before we start asking questions?
No.
No? Okay. All righty. Council, any questions for our petitioner? Yes, go right ahead.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm out of luck if I hold a bunch of the 5-wash cards from.
No, you're not. We're going to honor all those.
Okay, good, because I was buying those until recently.
Yeah.
With no idea.
I think he sold them all up to the day we bought it from him, because I had a lot of people. So what we're going to do is everybody's going to get a $15 car wash. Our package is 7, 11, and 15.
Okay.
And what we're going to do for the first month is we're going to launch. I'm launching TV commercial, 1,000 commercials a month I'll run.
Great.
42,000 postcards. Everybody in Livonia is going to get one. In the first month's $1, and you get the $15 car wash unlimited for a whole month.
That's,
for $1.
and obviously, I asked the question because we're not the only ones, right?
That's
That just
right,
kept
yeah.
different drivers buying the cards. The noise ordinance, the no radios, are you guys gonna police the no radios?
I have signs being made as we speak.
Okay, but somebody will kind of pay
Yes.
attention to that too?
Yep. We have one in Canton, so there's not much of it. Most people we have are real respectful. We have a manager on site. We're a little different most car washes. We're not the old angry guys that, there's no one gonna be outside smoking cigarettes, taking breaks. It's very professional operation. So our managers, our supervisors are hands-on. They're walking the parking lot, making sure you're happy with your car wash, making sure everybody's happy. Customer service is number one. Again, we work with neighbors in Canton that are really close. So we're gonna have no loud music signs. As far as noise, we're under the decibels. We already had a decibel meter under there,
Okay.
so we fired all the vacuums up, and road noise is 55. It goes from 55 to 60, and ours is under 59 or under. So
Well, I like the professional approach to this. They were I live right near there. They did a good job at that car wash generally, but it was old.
Right.
And it was starting to look old, and the landscaping needed some updating, right? The dumpster needed some
Yeah.
those vacuums needed some updating.
Yeah.
But I've never used one of these, but I'm familiar and see these now, and I think this is going to be a nice addition and make that corner look better, and I'm glad that we're straightened out now and that you've gone before planning commissioner here for approval formal site approval, which I think is necessary. But I think this is going to be overall a really nice development at that corner. And
if you guys haven't stopped by, come by. The building is painted. We got rid of
so the
paint.
are the maintenance bays gone?
The maintenance bay?
That's a separate company.
Oh, no, the auto place?
lab, yeah.
Yeah.
Auto place still there.
Okay.
Yeah, we share. They take the front half and we take the back half of the
Okay.
parking.
All
And
right.
we made it wider in the back because it was not very
No, it was a
functional.
weird- it was a
wasn't
weird
functional at all.
layout,
So
yeah.
we redid that. The concrete we didn't think we were going to have to do. That was torn apart. So we put all new concrete
Good.
in, all new heated slabs. So when you enter, it's a heated slab, and when you exit, it's a heated slab. So it doesn't ice up in the winter. Buildings painted, new landscaping everywhere. New LED lights.
I can see it's looking better.
Yeah, because there wasn't a light on the property that worked.
Yep.
So there
Okay.
must have been no lights for a while, but they are now.
All right, thank you.
Certainly. Anyone else? So you don't have any people that towel dry the car then? as
No,
you
ma'am, we
leave
actually
out?
have enough blowers and it's a chemical balance, right? To put enough drying agent with enough water, and then it shears off your car, so you won't have any
Like residue?
water. You won't have water in your car, not like the last guy.
Oh, okay.
And then if you want, there's microfiber towels when you're done. If you want to use them out by the vacuums, you can do your door jams and stuff like that.
Sure, okay. Alrighty, all right, we've heard from the petitioner. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Kritzman.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It wasn't that long ago that we had residents come, I believe about this same property regarding new lighting that was installed. And it was a matter of that lighting being intrusive in the backyard. Has that been rectified, or is that
Actually,
something you're familiar with?
I'm familiar with it. There was no lighting on the property. There was no power to the back. The awnings have 20-watt LEDs in them, and they're not on, and they're going to be shut off at the time of business. So we're still waiting to put the lights up in the back until we're approved, because I don't want to have them. I don't want to spend $3-4 grand and throw them on a pole real quick, and then. But the blue awnings for the vacuums, they have LEDs in there, and I think maybe they were left on. But they shine straight down. They don't shine out. They're not intrusive at all.
So, I mean, one of the concerns that was brought up at the time was a matter of screening between this operation, which is obviously a lot bigger operation than was there before. So going back to, it was the screening between this operation and the adjacent residential properties. And I know that Mark talked about a little bit of landscape screening in the corner of the property, but I guess I'm gonna throw this question to Mark. I mean, to be honest, that landscaping piece looks like a token element of the entire site plan. Is that the only area that it's required? or I guess why wouldn't we have, so is it because the adjacent property is another commercial use that we're not requiring more landscaping?
Well, the paving, as you can see from this plan, goes pretty much to the edge of the property. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity to provide additional landscaping along the east side of the property. I think they've added, I think the intent here was to add that landscaping where they felt it would be, it would provide the most effective screen to the residents, which is that triangular area. The area directly to the south of that, if I go back to the aerial photograph, you'll see is the undeveloped area of the site. And that is where the city approved a green belt in lieu of a protective wall that would otherwise have to go along the edge of the property. It was felt that building a wall would probably do more disturbance on the site than the existing landscaping. Correct.
So just a question, Mr. Burke, the existing pavement that's out there, and I have not been to the site.
Yeah.
I was studying the project earlier today, and obviously looking at Google Maps, you can see what was there. On the eastern border of the property, in the back half, where you've got all the cars and the vacuums and all that, I noticed earlier that you've got the vacuum stations, then you have an extra wide open area, which obviously you have 2 queuing sections through there, and then you have additional parking, which I presume to be for Auto Lab.
Well, it's for anybody, it's for our employees, and
Okay.
yeah, because before there was a.
Would it be possible, or I guess because the drawings weren't clear, I'm not sure the dimension in that middle area, and maybe Mark has it on that sheet, if you could zoom in right there, Mark.
Here?
What's that middle section? Is it 56 feet through there? I guess, is it possible to peel that back from that corner to the first island?
No.
5 feet?
Can't,
And
'cause
put
of
a
the
landscape
traffic.
screen in there?
I'll back it up. Right now, you can't see any, there's trees there. There's, on the east of those spots, there's 30 foot of woods. I'm not even exact, I mean 30 foot of woods,
Yeah,
50
but
foot
that's
trees.
primarily deciduous trees, and come winter time,
Correct.
all of
What
that
I'm
goes
gonna
away.
What I'm running up the side of that are arborvitaes. I'm gonna run like.
Where?
If you take that corner of that landscaping,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go up about 10 parking spots. See that light pole?
Yeah.
It's gonna go up almost to that light pole. I'm gonna put arborvitaes. I can fit them in there.
That's literally all I was asking for.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do that because at the last meeting we had, they wanted to run them up a little further, which I have no problem. So I'm gonna run them, I'm gonna buy them about 8 to 10 feet. I think they're about $200 each. I'm gonna run them, what is that, north?
Yes.
And then you see how that's on an angle? I'm gonna run them on an angle to the south. So I'm gonna put like a 6 foot berm in there, wide, not 6 foot high.
Mhm.
And then that way there's gonna be a whole mess of them.
So from that triangular area to the island where the light is located.
Correct. I'm gonna run them all the way up.
That's all I was recommending.
And that is addressed in item number 14 in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. You know me, I'm always looking at the drawings. I missed the other part.
There's a lot on here, so.
Words.
Words are hard. Drawings are good.
Words and words. Okay. If there's no other questions, we're going to go to the audience. I know a couple of the young women here were up earlier, and you've waited patiently since the last meeting. Thank you for doing that. And I know we'd like to hear your comments. Thank you, Mr. Burke, for, yes. Yeah, hi, just state your name and address for the record.
Marcia Malik, 36114 Parkhurst.
Okay.
And again, we're one of the residents that back up to the car wash.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Could we put, is it one of the houses shown on the thing we just looked at?
Probably.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
36114.
Yep.
Right on?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so I first noticed the new improvements and expansion to the car wash about March. And that was when we got to get out of the house from the winter. And there's no greenery on the trees. You can see all the way through to 5 Mile. So it was a very bright blue awning. I think the color of the chairs. So it was very noticeable at that time. And there was a lot of construction and noise going on. So I was, and some of my neighbors was surprised about all the activity on the creek. And one of the concerns was basically the activity on the creek. And Todd, was it you that we worked with on the improvement that was a grant?
Oh, yeah.
Several
Oh,
hundred thousand.
Miss, could you direct your questions
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
way?
I was
That's
trying to
okay.
talk.
Yeah.
I think there was, we got a several $100,000 grant, I believe, from the state to shore up the ravine because it was caving in.
Yeah.
There were at least, I believe, 5 or 6 neighbors who were assessed $20,000 each towards the cost of that.
Correct.
So with all this new activity, we were all just surprised that with how we thought that the ravine was so fragile, that there would be all this activity right on the edge of it again. And so that's what my concern is. And since all this building happened before it was approved, I mean, how do we know what the impact to the ravine might be? And I know we can't know that until they're operational, but it's just a concern because there was a huge investment from our neighborhood on that ravine. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you for bringing it up. I remember that when we did that, believe it or not. Yes.
A few of the neighbors say too that for the longest times after that was done, that the creek was very, very clear.
Yes.
And I don't know what are reasons that would cause the creek to get cloudy or oily looking or green again. I have not seen it because I don't see the water from my property, but a few of my neighbors have commented that they think the water looks murky again. Could be any reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, thank you. We'll look at it. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Janice Prokobenko, 36126 Parkhurst. I live directly closest to these wonderful blue buildings. I have a picture in April. I was shocked to see this blue tunnel with lights. I think that this was approved as if this had been still a farm, Reynolds, since 1970 instead of a subdivision. I just want to know how we can ameliorate since this monster is there. I'm concerned about the water. I'm concerned that we would have to pay because they put in those 2 buildings 15, 20 years ago on 5 Mile. You know, these people had to pay so much money. I'm afraid for all the neighbors on the creek. We'll have to have something like that happen. And that was a Wayne State, because it's Bell Creek, a Wayne County assessment. How can we ameliorate what's there already? The other owner, Gary, his partner, Warren, the owner of the property, was very, very good. They brought me the decibels. It's 59. He said it was when all 10 of them were on, the vacuums. And I know that our state, our bylaws say it has to be 55. I have a concern when radios or noisy cars are coming. It's right in my backyard. Absolutely, it's on my phone. You can see the picture. It's a change of use. It was done, the part-time inspectors were there and didn't know what they were looking at. So we just fell through the cracks. Last time you did show the green space, and it's a little deceptive because most of that green is the house next to me. The creek goes, I would say 2/3 is on my neighbors. There's very little green space, I think, on theirs. So I just wonder what we can do to make it better. The blue is very bright, and it's right out my kitchen window, my deck, and 9 o'clock 10 o'clock, people were talking, probably planning things, but at night, and the voices carry. Warren, I think it's Warren, the owner, and Gary would have even put arborvitaes on my property, and they're thinking that would ameliorate the sound better than a wall. So I don't know what else I wanted to say, but it's just been sad because it was built before the specifications were all in.
They offered to put some landscaping arborvitaes on your property?
Warren
did. I hear
did.
you say that?
He came on because from the sidewalk, it just, this blue, people walking by.
Okay.
You know, our property values are going to be affected. So.
Okay. So your main complaint is the blue? Is that what I'm?
The closeness to this tunnel of cars to what was, you know, pretty pristine before.
Can you give me your address again?
36126.
Parkhurst.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay. I don't know. Ms. Termina, what do we do in this case? I mean, he's, you know, Mr. Burke has improved the area, and yet, you know, there's some concern from the residents as to their quality of life on this particular site.
Well, I think it's probably a number of practices or things you could undertake that would include, you know, limiting the hours of operation to what we think is reasonable.
Okay.
Addressing some of the screening issues via landscaping, as has already been discussed. Shielding the light fixtures as much as possible. Controlling the sound level to something that is reasonable, and she's correct. The limit is 55, and I know it was indicated that, you know, the reading was at 59 when all 10 vacuums were operating without vehicles there. So more than likely, it's going to be close to that limit. But as long as it's below that threshold, then that is something that is permitted by zoning ordinance. So I think we've addressed it in the resolution as best we can. We don't have the final landscaping plan. It's really just something that is a condition of approval. If between now and the voting meeting you'd like to see some of these issues refined a little bit or more details relative to either sound levels or landscaping, maybe that's something that you can address between now and the voting meeting.
Certainly. Thank you for those suggestions. Council, your direction or comments? Yes, go right ahead.
I just have one more question, Mark, and maybe we can't answer this here. At what point in the work did we go from something that didn't require full site plan to requiring full site plan? That's still what I'm a little confused about. And earlier you suggested that maybe it was administration discretion, which I don't have a problem with. You can't be prescriptive with everything. But, you know, we didn't change the use, right? We didn't change the exterior of the building. We don't have any requirements. We just heard on number of vacuums. Maybe that's something now we need to look at with the new kind of car wash. Because I do very empathetic to the residents' issues that they are now looking at something very different than they were looking at before. At the same time, overall, it is an improvement to a out-of-date kind of facility.
Yeah, the most significant changes are clearly the new pay station, as well as the additional vacuums and where they're located on the property. The other aspects are really similar to the way this site has operated for years. In terms of the impact, they haven't gone beyond the limits of the paved area.
Right.
There was some site work. They had to remove the pavement. There was some peripheral impact along the side of the property, maybe by 5-6 feet. Did not appear to directly impact the stream. You know, some of the discoloration could be caused from the heavy rains we've had this season. There's some, you know, they could install silt fencing along that area. They can be stabilized when they do the final landscaping as well as seeding. So there are some best management practices that can be undertaken along that east side of the property to mitigate any possible impact to the creek. But there's been no direct discharge into the creek from what I can tell.
Right.
What's that? I don't think we have direction on this particular petition.
Resolution.
Councilman Meekin has offered an approving, obviously on regular guests, right? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'd like to say something if possible. I've been there since 2002.
Oh, give me your name and address.
Sure. Warren Radjens. My
Okay.
address is 4445 Governor Bradford, Plymouth. And I own some of the Auto Lab, a percentage of it, and I own this building here
Okay.
that we're talking about. And yeah, there's been nobody touching anything with the pavement as far as towards the creek. As a matter of fact, the old owner of the facility, which was Dave, if we could pull up that one picture where we show the work that he's talking about, yes, and the one in the back corner, right in that area, okay? So the way the cars used to line up, and I bought this place in 2002, and I used to operate that auto repair site. The cars used to line up all the way around that corner, and they would go all the way to 5 Mile Road. I mean, we used to actually have trouble pulling our cars out of the bays. So the way this gate is, it's actually gonna be less intrusive on the creek, because the cars would idle around that corner, and I mean, they would sit there forever. There was a time, it was probably 2 years ago, I called the previous owner up, and I was in line to get a car wash. I was in line for 55 minutes to get a car wash. That's never gonna happen again. People are gonna come in through this pay gate, it opens up, it lets them in, and they leave. There's not gonna be cars idling all the way around there. So it is quite a big improvement. The building, of course, and the way it looks, and it's a good asset to the community. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else wishing to speak? Yes.
Jamie Burke, again. So as far as addressing the river, there's nothing being dumped into that river from us. I just want to be really clear. Yeah, and
Yeah, I don't think that.
everything is different than what it's 1970 washing cars. Chemicals are different. It's all biodegradable. It's recycled. 85% of the water is reused. Previous owner wasn't reusing anything, so we are on the cutting edge of making sure that the environment is number one. We're not going to be those guys. And it's just like Warren said, reiterate, I've not touched that site, have not gotten close to the ravine. We're not doing anything to that river. It's unnecessary for us to go back there. We don't even need that for part of our facility. So just to talk about that issue.
No, appreciate all your input. What I heard them saying was the canopy, okay? That's what I heard the one woman saying, and there were a couple other comments. I don't think anybody was saying you were dumping anything in the stream. We don't know, but
I've had an
assume that
inspector
was
came
you.
check me on me
Yeah,
one time,
yeah.
said that someone called on us saying that we were dumping
Oh,
things in the
dear,
river. So
okay.
I just wanted to make it clear that
No, we
we're not those guys.
appreciate your improvements. It's not that. I think some people are taken a little by surprise, that's all,
Okay.
with all the work going on.
Yep.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm gonna go out and look at the site as well and see what's up.
Okay.
Yeah, we gotta vote on it yet, so that'll
All
be
right.
on the 22nd of July, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for all you did and whatever. Okay, we're gonna go over to audience communication. That was our last, unless anybody else had comment from this end. Nope. Anybody else wishing to address the city council on any other item that wasn't on our yellow agenda for this evening? Hearing and seeing none, do I have,
We're adjourned.
we are adjourned. Thank you.
It was so nice to meet you.